Welcome to this training session on concept checking questions, or CCQs, for vocabulary. In this session, we are going to look at a practical way of checking whether our students really understand new vocabulary. As teachers, when we present a new word, we often ask students, "Do you understand?" And the student says, "Yes." But does that answer really prove understanding? Not necessarily. Students may say, "Yes," because they do not want to admit that they are confused. They may also recognize the word but not fully understand its meaning or how to use it. The goal of this session is to help you move from simply telling students the meaning of a word to actually checking that they have understood the meaning. Move beyond asking about understanding. The first important principle is this: do not accept "yes" as proof of understanding. We need to create questions that require students to demonstrate what they understand. For example, imagine we teach the word embarrassed. We could ask, "Do you understand embarrassed?" A student may say, "Yes," but we still do not know what they understand. Instead, give students a situation. Imagine you are giving a presentation. You make a silly mistake, and everyone looks at you. Then ask, "Do you feel comfortable?" "No." "Are you worried about what people think?" "Yes." This gives us much stronger evidence. So, as teachers, we should stop thinking, "How can I ask students whether they understand?" and start thinking, "What question can I ask that will show me whether they understand?" That is the fundamental purpose of a CCQ. The 5-step framework. Now we are going to use a 5-step process for constructing vocabulary CCQs. Think of this as a process of reverse engineering the meaning of a word. The 5 steps are: first, identify the exact meaning in context. Second, break the meaning into its essential components. Third, simplify those components using language students already know. Fourth, turn the components into short, clear questions. And fifth, use those questions to diagnose understanding. This process prevents us from creating CCQs randomly. Instead, we start with meaning and work backwards until we have questions that students can answer easily. Let's now look at each stage carefully. Context determines meaning. The first step is context. A word can have more than one meaning. Therefore, we should not check a word in isolation. We need to ask, what exactly does this word mean in this lesson and in this sentence? For example, take the word bank. A bank can be a financial institution, but a bank can also mean the side of a river. So if our lesson sentence is, "We sat on the river bank," we need to check the meaning connected with the river. The same principle applies to vocabulary such as light, run, match, break, and many other words. So, before preparing CCQs, identify the specific meaning that students need for the lesson. A useful teacher habit is, before opening the dictionary, first look carefully at the sentence, picture, dialogue, or situation in which the word appears. Ask yourself, what does this word mean here? That is the meaning we need to check. Check more than one source. The next step is to make sure that our understanding of the target word is accurate. Do not automatically rely on a single lexical source. Different dictionaries may emphasize slightly different aspects of meaning. For example, the word embarrassed. In a Seuss-like Cambridge dictionary, it may be explained using ideas such as feeling ashamed. But in the Longman dictionary, it is explained as uncomfortable, nervous, or worried about what other people think. As teachers, we need to identify the core meaning that is relevant to our lesson. The point is not to give students several dictionary definitions. In fact, doing that can make things more confusing. Instead, compare reliable sources, identify the important semantic features, and then create a learner-friendly explanation. For classroom purposes, we might reduce the meaning of the word embarrassed to something like, "You feel uncomfortable because you made a silly mistake or because people are looking at you." We can then build our CCQs around those important elements. Break the definition into meaning components. This is one of the most important steps. Do not take a long dictionary definition and simply turn it into a question. First, Break the definition into smaller meaning components. For example, feeling uncomfortable or nervous and worrying about what people think of you because you have made a silly mistake or because you have to talk in public. That is far too complicated to use directly with students. Let's break it down. First, feeling uncomfortable or nervous. Second, worrying about what people think. Third, something has happened that makes you feel this way. For example, you made a silly mistake, or you have to speak in public. Now we have several smaller concepts that we can check. This is much more useful than trying to check the entire definition with one question. As a teacher, when you see a long definition, mentally put brackets around the important components. Then ask, what are the essential pieces of meaning that students need to understand? Those pieces will become the basis for your CCQs. Simplify the language. Now we need to simplify the language. This is critical. Your CCQ should be easier than the target word or concept. How can we do that? 1. Eliminate low-frequency vocabulary. 2. Prevent cognitive overload. 3. Replace difficult words with known vocabulary. For example, suppose the target word is uncomfortable. If we ask, are you experiencing psychological unease? We have created a new vocabulary problem. The students now need to understand psychological unease just to answer our CCQ. That defeats the purpose. Instead, use language students already know. You can simply ask, are you comfortable? For a target word such as worried, we might ask, are you happy and relaxed? No. Are you thinking about a problem? Yes. The rule is simple. Do not make the CCQ more difficult than the vocabulary you are checking. If students need to ask you, what does that question mean? Then the CCQ itself has become the problem. Turn meaning into binary questions. Once we have simplified the meaning, we can transform each meaning component into a short question. You can use yes-no questions. For example, suppose one component of the meaning is feeling unrelaxed. We could ask, are you relaxed? The answer is no. Or, are you relaxed or uncomfortable? Uncomfortable. These questions are short and easy to process. Notice that we are not asking, why do you think someone might feel embarrassed in this situation? That is an open-ended discussion question. It may be useful for speaking practice, but it is not a focused CCQ. A good CCQ should quickly tell us whether students understand a particular element of meaning. So when designing your questions, ask yourself, can students answer this question quickly? Is the question testing one specific part of meaning? Can students answer it without using the target word? If the answer is yes, you probably have a useful CCQ. Different parts of speech. Not all vocabulary should be checked in exactly the same way. The part of speech can help us decide what to focus on. For adjectives, we often need to check states, qualities, feelings, or emotions. For example, embarrassed. We might check, do you feel comfortable? No. For nouns, we often need to check category, identity, or boundaries. For example, for the word mammal, we can ask, is a dog a mammal? Yes. Is a snake a mammal? No. For verbs, we may need to check the manner, speed, direction, or type of action. For example, for the word saunter, we can check, are you walking quickly? No. Are you walking slowly? Yes. Are you relaxed? Yes. So don't simply ask, what does this word mean? Instead, identify the important semantic features of the particular word. Let's now put the framework into practice. Let's take the word embarrassed. Imagine that a student spills coffee on a clean white shirt while giving a presentation. We want to teach the word embarrassed. First, we establish the context. The student makes a silly mistake in front of other people. Then we elicit the word. We might ask, how does he feel? Students may say, bad, worried, sad. If they cannot produce the target word, we give it to them. He feels embarrassed. Now we check meaning. Ask, is he relaxed? No. Is he worried about what people think? Yes. Did he make a silly mistake? Yes. These questions are focused. They check the essential meaning without asking students to repeat the definition. Notice the sequence. Context. Elicit. Give the word if necessary. Check meaning. That sequence should become a normal classroom routine. Let's take another example. The word mammal. We need to check the category. First, is a mammal an animal? Yes. Then, does a baby mammal drink its mother's milk? Yes. Now we can use contrasting examples. Is a dog a mammal? Yes. Is a snake a mammal? No. This is particularly useful because students need to understand the boundary of the category. A student who knows that a dog is a mammal but also thinks that every animal is a mammal has not fully understood the concept. This is why examples and non-examples are powerful. For many nouns, ask students to distinguish between something that belongs to the category and something that does not. That gives you stronger evidence of understanding. Now let's look at the verb saunter. The basic action is walking. But simply asking, is saunter walking, is not enough. We need to check the manner of walking. We can ask, are you walking quickly? No. Are you walking slowly? Yes. Are you relaxed? Yes. Are you walking in a hurry? No. We could also check whether there is a specific direction involved. The important point is that verbs often contain more information than the basic action. For example, the verb run tells us the action, but other verbs may also tell us about speed, manner, attitude, direction, or the way the action is performed. Therefore, when preparing CCQs for verbs, ask, what makes this verb different from other verbs describing a similar action? That difference is often what your CCQs need to check. Concept checks always follow context and elicitation. Now let's bring the whole classroom sequence together. Effective concept checking should not happen randomly. It should follow context and elicitation. So, first, create a vivid context. For example, you are standing in front of the whole class. You make a silly mistake. Everyone looks at you. Then ask questions that encourage students to produce the target word. How do you feel? If students know the word, they may say, embarrassed. If they don't, provide it. Embarrassed. Then immediately check the meaning. Are you comfortable? No. Are you worried about what people think? Yes. This creates a natural progression. So, 1. Set the context. 2. Elicit the word. 3. Provide the word if necessary. 4. Check the meaning. The important thing is that CCQs are not a replacement for context. They are part of a larger vocabulary teaching sequence. Guardrails for effective CCQs. There are several important rules that will help you avoid ineffective CCQs. Rule number 1. Never use the target word inside the CCQ. For example, if the target word is embarrassed, do not ask, are you embarrassed? You are simply repeating the word you are trying to check. Instead, you may ask, are you comfortable? Are you worried about what people think? Rule number 2. Never use vocabulary that is harder than the target concept. If the target word is difficult, your questions should use familiar language. Rule number 3. Avoid vague, open-ended, why questions. For example, why is he embarrassed? This may produce a discussion rather than a quick comprehension check. Instead, you may ask, did he make a silly mistake? Yes. Rule number 4. Avoid cultural or geographical assumptions. A CCQ should test the meaning of the word, not the student's knowledge of a particular culture. And here is a useful diagnostic rule. If your CCQ requires a long answer, it may have become a discussion question rather than a concept checking question. The purpose is to obtain rapid and clear evidence of understanding. Putting the framework into practice. Let's summarize the complete process. When teaching a difficult vocabulary item, follow these 5 steps. Step 1. Contextualize the word firmly. Make sure students understand the situation in which the word is being used. Step 2. Segment the meaning. Break the meaning into its essential components. Step 3. Simplify relentlessly. Use language that your students already understand. Step 4. Transform the components into short diagnostic questions. Use yes, No questions whenever appropriate. Step 5. Check understanding through rapid, focused questions. And remember, the purpose is not to make students explain the definition. The purpose is to discover whether they understand the concept. So, here is your practical task. Before your next lesson, choose 3 vocabulary items that your students may find difficult. For each word, first, identify the meaning in context. Second, break the meaning into 2 or 3 essential components. Third, simplify the language. Fourth, write 1 short CCQ for each component. And finally, test your questions. Ask yourself, does the question avoid the target word? Is the language easier than the target word? Does it check one specific element of meaning? Can students answer it quickly? Does the answer give me evidence of understanding? If the answer is yes, your CCQ is probably doing its job. Effective vocabulary teaching is not simply about giving students definitions. It is about helping learners build a clear mental representation of meaning, and then checking whether that meaning has actually been understood. So, in your next vocabulary lesson, don't simply ask, "Do you understand?" Instead, ask questions that allow you to see the understanding. Remember the sequence: context, meaning components, simple language, focused questions, evidence of understanding. The more deliberately we design our CCQs, the more accurately we can diagnose what our students know and what they still need help with. Thank you for watching this training video on concept checking questions for vocabulary. If you found this video useful, please like, subscribe, and share it with other teachers who may benefit from it. Thank you for watching again, and I'll see you in the next training video.